Hey there, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like life is just one punch to the gut after another? Like no matter how hard you try to stay positive, the world keeps throwing curveballs that knock you down? Maybe you're dealing with a difficult breakup, watching someone you love battle illness, or feeling overwhelmed by the chaos and uncertainty in today's world. Perhaps you're scrolling through social media right now, seeing everyone else's highlight reels while you're struggling just to get through the day. I got it. We live in a world that can feel absolutely brutal sometimes. Turn on the news and you'll see politicians playing dangerous games with our future, economic uncertainty that keeps you up at night, and a society that seems more divided than ever. Add in personal struggles like health scares, relationship problems, or career setbacks, and it's no wonder so many of us feel like we're drowning in a sea of anxiety and pain. But what if I told you that over 2,000 years ago, a man who was literally born into slavery discovered a secret so powerful that it allowed him to find unshakable inner peace, regardless of what life threw at him? His name was Epictetus, and his teachings have helped millions of people transform their suffering into strength. Now, before you roll your eyes thinking this is going to be another feel-good, sunshine and rainbows approach to dealing with life's problems, let me stop you right there. Epictetus wasn't about sugarcoating anything. This guy was the ultimate no-nonsense philosopher. He didn't offer gentle pats on the back or tell you everything would be okay. Instead, he offered something far more valuable: the truth about why we suffer and a practical roadmap to genuine, lasting peace. Born around 50 AD in what's now Turkey, Epictetus spent his early years as a slave in Rome. Despite his circumstances, he developed a passion for philosophy, studying under the Stoic master Musonius Rufus. After gaining his freedom, he founded his own school in Nicopolis, where students traveled from across the ancient world to learn about his radical approach to life. His teachings were so powerful that his student Arian wrote them down, preserving them in works we still read today. What made Epictetus different? He didn't just talk about philosophy, he lived it. And he insisted that true peace wasn't about changing the world around you or waiting for circumstances to improve. It was about something far more radical: changing how you see and respond to everything that happens to you. In this video, we're going to dive deep into Epictetus' most transformative teachings. You'll discover why your pain might not be coming from where you think it is, how split-second judgments can sabotage your happiness, and why the very things you love most might be causing your greatest suffering. Most importantly, you'll learn his powerful technique for achieving the kind of inner peace that nothing and no one can take away from you. So buckle up, because this journey isn't for the faint of heart. But if you're ready to stop being a victim of circumstances and start taking control of your inner world, then let's begin. 1. Why your pain isn't coming from where you think. You're sitting at your kitchen table in your Chicago apartment, staring at your laptop screen in disbelief. The email from your boss is short and brutal. Due to restructuring, your position has been eliminated effective immediately. Your stomach drops. 15 years with the company, gone. The mortgage payment is due next week. Your daughter's college tuition bill arrived yesterday. Panic sets in as you feel your world crumbling around you. Here's where Epictetus would grab you by the shoulders and say something that might sound crazy at first. Your pain isn't coming from losing your job. It's coming from something else entirely. I know what you're thinking. Are you kidding me? Of course. My pain is coming from losing my job. How am I supposed to pay my bills? What about my family? But stay with me here, because understanding this distinction could be the most important realization of your life. Epictetus spent years observing human behavior and noticed something profound. When bad things happen to us, we assume the event itself is causing our suffering. Lost your job? That's the source of pain. Partner cheated on you? That's why you're devastated. Diagnosed with an illness? That's why you're terrified. But Epictetus discovered that this assumption is completely wrong. The ancient Stoic master taught that events themselves are neutral. They're just things that happen in the world. What actually causes our suffering is our perception of these events, our immediate judgments about what they mean, and most importantly, our beliefs about how things should or shouldn't be. Let me give you a simple example that'll blow your mind. Imagine two people walking through Central Park in New York. They both spot the same spider on a bench. The first person screams, jumps back, and feels their heart racing with terror. The second person leans in closer, fascinated, maybe even taking a photo to share with their biology professor friend. Same spider, completely different reactions. Why? Because the spider isn't inherently terrifying or fascinating. It's just a spider doing spider things. The difference lies entirely in how each person perceives and judges what they're seeing. The first person's mind instantly categorizes the spider as dangerous, disgusting, something to be feared. That judgment, not the spider itself, creates the fear response. The second person's mind categorizes it as interesting, part of nature's diversity, something to be studied. That judgment creates curiosity instead of fear. Now, you might argue that fear of spiders is natural, maybe even evolutionary. Fair point. But Epictetus would counter that many of our judgments about modern life have nothing to do with actual survival and everything to do with learned beliefs and expectations we've picked up along the way. Going back to that job loss scenario, the event itself is simply this: your employment status changed from employed to unemployed. That's it. That's the raw fact. But watch what your mind does with that fact. It immediately starts spinning stories. This is a disaster. I'm a failure. My family will suffer. I'll lose my house. I'll never find another job this good. My life is ruined. These aren't facts. They're judgments, predictions, and interpretations. And here's the kicker. It's these judgments, not the job loss itself, that create your emotional suffering. Think about it this way. Somewhere in Los Angeles right now, there's probably an entrepreneur who just got fired from their corporate job and is secretly celebrating. Why? Because they see it as the push they needed to finally start their own business. Same event, job loss, but completely different judgment. This is my opportunity. I'm finally free. Now I can pursue my real dreams. Epictetus put it brilliantly when he said that we're disturbed not by things themselves, but by our views about things. Death isn't terrible in itself. Our idea that death is terrible is what makes it so. Poverty isn't inherently bad. Our belief that poverty is bad creates our fear of it. This might sound like philosophical wordplay, but it's actually incredibly practical. Because if our pain comes from our judgments rather than events themselves, that means we have far more power over our suffering than we ever imagined. We can't control whether we lose our job, whether people betray us, whether we get sick, or whether the economy tanks. But we can control how we think about these things. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. When you're in the middle of a crisis, when you're facing real challenges like paying rent or dealing with health issues, it can feel impossible to think differently. Our judgments often feel so automatic, so obviously true, that we can't imagine seeing things any other way. But that's exactly why Epictetus' teaching is so radical and so powerful. He's showing us that the prison of our suffering has an unlocked door. We've just been so focused on rattling the bars that we never thought to try the handle. This doesn't mean pretending bad things are good or forcing yourself to be happy about genuine losses. It means recognizing that your interpretations and judgments are adding unnecessary suffering on top of whatever challenges you're facing. It means understanding that between stimulus and response, between event and emotion, there's a space. And in that space lies your power to choose how you'll perceive and respond to what's happening. The real question isn't whether difficult things will happen to you. They will. The question is whether you'll add suffering to hardship by the stories you tell yourself about what these events mean. Understanding this distinction is the first step toward the kind of inner peace that Epictetus promised is possible for every single one of us. 2. The split-second judgments that ruin your day. A driver cuts you off on the Brooklyn Bridge during rush hour. Before you even realize what's happening, your hands are gripping the steering wheel, your jaw is clenched, and you're already mentally composing the angry rant you'll share with your coworker when you get to the office. The whole reaction takes maybe 2 seconds, but the anger lingers for the next hour, poisoning your morning and setting a negative tone for your entire day. What just happened there? According to Epictetus, you just witnessed the lightning-fast process that creates most human suffering. The instant value judgments we make about everything we encounter. The Stoics noticed something fascinating about how our minds work. The moment we perceive anything, whether it's a person, event, or situation, our brain immediately slaps a label on it. Good or bad, desirable or repulsive, fair or unfair, safe or dangerous. This happens so quickly that we usually don't even notice it's happening. We think we're just seeing reality as it is, but we're actually seeing reality through the filter of our instant judgments. Epictetus called these immediate mental reactions impressions, and he distinguished between reasonable and unreasonable ones. A reasonable impression is when you look outside, see the sun shining, and think, it's daytime. That's a pretty solid judgment based on observable reality. An unreasonable impression is when your Miami neighbor plays music at 2 p.m. on a Saturday, and you think, this person is deliberately trying to ruin my life and has no respect for anyone. See the difference? One is a simple observation of fact. The other is a complex story full of assumptions about intent, meaning, and personal attack. And here's the thing. We make these unreasonable impressions all day long without even realizing it. Let me walk you through exactly how this process destroys your peace of mind. You wake up, check your phone, and see that your friend hasn't responded to your text from last night. Instantly, your mind makes a judgment. They're ignoring me. They must be mad at me. What did I do wrong? That judgment triggers an emotional response. Anxiety, hurt, maybe anger. That emotional response affects your behavior. Maybe you send a passive-aggressive follow-up text or spend the morning obsessing over the friendship. But what actually happened? Someone didn't respond to a text. That's it. Everything else, the meaning you assigned to it, the story you created about it, the emotions that followed, all of that came from your instant judgment, not from the actual event. These judgments happen with everything. You see a homeless person on the streets of San Francisco and instantly judge, how sad, or they should get a job, or this city is falling apart. You see a luxury car and think, must be nice to be rich, or probably a trust fund kid, or that's the car I'll have someday. You look in the mirror and think, I look tired, or I'm getting old, or I need to lose weight. Every single one of these judgments shapes your emotional state. And because they happen so fast, so automatically, we rarely question them. We assume our judgments are just the truth about how things are. But Epictetus points out something crucial. These judgments aren't facts. They're interpretations. And interpretations can be wrong, incomplete, or unnecessarily negative. That friend who didn't text back? Maybe their phone died. Maybe they fell asleep early. Maybe they're dealing with their own crisis and haven't even seen your message. The homeless person? You know nothing about their story, their struggles, their journey. That luxury car could belong to someone who worked 3 jobs for 20 years to afford it, or someone who's drowning in debt trying to keep up appearances. The ancient Stoics developed a practice to deal with these snap judgments. They called it catching the impression. The idea is to notice the judgment as it forms and examine it before accepting it as truth. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you catch that first impression. This person is a selfish jerk, and examine it. Is that really true? Could they be rushing to the hospital? Having the worst day of their life? Simply have made an honest mistake? This isn't about making excuses for bad behavior or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about recognizing that your instant judgments often add unnecessary suffering to your life. That driver who cut you off, their action took 2 seconds. But if you let that judgment fester, you'll carry that anger for hours, maybe even sharing the story multiple times, reliving the frustration each time you tell it. Think about how many of these judgments you make in a typical day. Your Seattle coffee shop gets your order wrong. They never listen. Your teenager doesn't clean their room. They don't respect me. Your boss schedules another meeting. They have no regard for my time. Each judgment is like a small poison dart, injecting a little bit of negativity into your system. By the end of the day, you're wondering why you feel so drained, so frustrated, so unhappy. The power in Epictetus' teaching is realizing you don't have to accept every judgment your mind produces. You can question them. You can revise them. You can even dismiss them entirely. This isn't positive thinking or denial. It's recognizing that your mind's first interpretation of events is often distorted by past experiences, fears, biases, and assumptions. When you start catching these impressions, you discover something amazing. Most of your daily frustrations come not from what happens to you, but from the stories your mind instantly creates about what happens to you. And unlike external events, those stories are something you can actually control. In the next section, we'll explore how these instant judgments create the twin forces that Epictetus believed were responsible for most human misery: desire and aversion. 3. When wanting things goes wrong. You're scrolling through Instagram in your Denver apartment, and there it is again. Your college roommate just posted photos from their 3rd international vacation this year. Santorini this time. Perfect blue waters, luxury hotels, gourmet dinners with sunset views. You feel that familiar twist in your stomach. You want that life. You want those experiences. And because you don't have them, you feel like you're failing somehow. Welcome to what Epictetus considered one of the root causes of human misery: desire and aversion directed at things beyond our control. Now, before we go further, Let's be clear about something. Epictetus wasn't against all desires. He wasn't suggesting we become emotionless robots who want nothing and care about nothing. The Stoics understood that some desires are natural and even beneficial. The desire to be a good person, to act with integrity, to develop wisdom, these desires can lead to genuine fulfillment because they're focused on things within our control. The problem comes when we direct our desires toward external things. Money, status, other people's opinions, perfect health, job security, or even something as simple as good weather for our weekend plans. These externals, Epictetus argued, are fundamentally unreliable. They're what he called fickle, weak, and slavish because they can be taken from us at any moment by forces beyond our control. Think about desire and aversion as two sides of the same coin. When you desperately want something, you automatically develop an aversion to not having it. Love sunny weather? You'll hate rainy days. Crave recognition at work? You'll despise being overlooked. Want a romantic partner who never disappoints you? You'll be miserable every time they're human and imperfect. Here's where it gets interesting. Epictetus noticed that these twin forces, desire and aversion, create a kind of emotional slavery. You become a puppet with external circumstances pulling your strings. Stock market goes up, you're happy. Traffic is bad, you're frustrated. Your Phoenix neighbors are noisy, you're angry. Your team wins, you're elated. Your appearance changes with age, you're depressed. Living this way is exhausting. You're constantly at the mercy of things you can't control, riding an emotional roller coaster that never stops. And here's the cruel irony. The more intensely you desire something external, the more pain you set yourself up for, because even if you get what you want, you'll immediately start fearing its loss. Let me paint you a picture of how this plays out in real life. Sarah in Boston desires a promotion she's been working toward for 2 years. She wants it so badly she can taste it. She imagines the salary increase, the corner office, the respect from colleagues. This desire consumes her thoughts. She works late, skips family dinners, sacrifices her health, all in pursuit of this goal. Then decision day comes. The promotion goes to someone else. Because Sarah had attached so much desire to this external outcome, she's devastated. Not disappointed, but genuinely crushed. She questions her worth, considers quitting, falls into depression. The intensity of her suffering is directly proportional to the intensity of her desire for something that was never guaranteed to be hers. But it gets worse. Even if Sarah had gotten the promotion, Epictetus would point out that her troubles wouldn't end there. Now she'd have new desires. Keeping the position, getting the next promotion, maintaining others' respect, and new aversions. Being demoted, making mistakes, having her department restructured. The cycle never ends. This is why Epictetus made such a radical claim. If you want true peace, you must redirect your desires away from externals entirely. In the Stoic framework, the only thing truly worth desiring is virtue, living according to wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. Why? Because your character, your choices, your responses to life's challenges, these are the only things genuinely under your control. Everything else? Your health can fail despite your best efforts. Your job can disappear in a recession. Your relationships can end despite your love and commitment. Your reputation can be destroyed by lies. Your possessions can be lost, stolen, or destroyed. Even your body, which seems so intimately yours, operates largely outside your conscious control. This might sound depressing, but Epictetus saw it as liberating. Once you truly understand what's in your control and what isn't, you can stop wasting energy on desires that make you miserable. You can stop fearing things that may never happen. You can stop letting external circumstances dictate your inner state. The ancient Stoics had a saying, "Virtue is the only good, vice is the only evil, and everything else is indifferent." By indifferent, they didn't mean unimportant. They meant these things don't have the power to make you truly happy or unhappy unless you give them that power through your desires and aversions. Money, indifferent, can be used well or poorly. Health, indifferent, you can be virtuous whether healthy or sick. Reputation, indifferent, others' opinions don't change who you really are. Even life itself, indifferent in the sense that a short virtuous life is better than a long shameful one. This is radical thinking, especially in our modern culture that constantly tells us happiness comes from getting what we want. Buy this product, achieve this goal, find this relationship, and then you'll be happy. But Epictetus saw through this lie 2,000 years ago. He understood that making your happiness dependent on externals is a recipe for perpetual dissatisfaction. So what's the alternative? Focus your desires on what you actually control, your judgments, your decisions, your responses to whatever life throws at you. Desire to be patient when tested. Desire to be courageous when facing challenges. Desire to be just in your dealings with others. Desire to be wise in your understanding of life. These desires, unlike wishes for external things, can always be fulfilled because they depend entirely on you. 4. Why loving someone can hurt so much. You're lying awake at 3 a.m. in your Los Angeles home, staring at the empty space beside you in bed. It's been 6 months since the divorce was finalized, but the pain feels as fresh as day one. 23 years of marriage, 2 kids, a lifetime of shared memories, and now you're alone. The house feels too quiet. Every corner holds a ghost of what used to be. You wonder if you'll ever stop feeling this crushing weight in your chest. This is where Epictetus' teachings get really challenging. Because now we're not talking about losing a job or dealing with traffic. We're talking about the people we love most in this world. And Epictetus, in his characteristically blunt way, tells us that our deepest attachments to other people are often the source of our greatest suffering. Before you close this video thinking Stoicism is heartless, hear me out. Epictetus isn't saying we shouldn't love people. He's not advocating for a life of cold isolation. What he's pointing out is a painful truth we all know but rarely want to face. The more attached we are to someone, the more power they have to hurt us, and the more devastating their loss will be. Think about the parent in Chicago who can't sleep because their teenage daughter is an hour past curfew. Every worst-case scenario runs through their mind. Every siren in the distance makes their heart race. The attachment to their child, beautiful and natural as it is, has become a source of torment. Or consider the woman in Houston whose husband of 30 years is diagnosed with terminal cancer. The thought of life without him is unbearable. The attachment that brought so much joy now brings equal measures of anticipatory grief. Epictetus observed that we form these deep attachments believing they'll make us happy. And they do for a while. The early days of romance, the miracle of holding your newborn child, the comfort of deep friendship, These experiences feel like everything we've been searching for. But hidden within each attachment is the seed of future pain. Because everything we love in this world is temporary. Your spouse will die. If not before you, then they'll have to endure losing you. Your children will grow up and leave, and that's if you're lucky enough that nothing happens to them first. Your parents will age and pass away. Your closest friends will drift apart or be taken by time. This isn't pessimism. It's simply the nature of human existence. Most of us deal with this reality through denial. We push away thoughts of loss. We tell ourselves we have plenty of time. We cling tighter to the people we love, as if our grip could somehow stop the flow of time. But Epictetus suggests this approach only amplifies our suffering. The tighter we cling, the more we fear loss, and the more that fear poisons our present moments with the people we love. Here's what really happens when we're deeply attached. We stop seeing our loved ones as they actually are and start seeing them as extensions of ourselves, as possessions we can't bear to lose. The wife becomes my wife, the child becomes my child, as if that possessive pronoun gives us some kind of control over their fate. But it doesn't. It just creates the illusion of control, which makes reality that much harder to bear when it inevitably asserts itself. I remember a woman from Seattle who told me about losing her 5-year-old son to leukemia. She said the pain was so intense she literally couldn't breathe sometimes. She felt like she was drowning in grief. But what made it worse, she said, was the feeling that she had failed to protect him, as if a mother's love should have been powerful enough to defeat cancer. The attachment created not just grief over loss, but also crushing guilt over an imagined failure to control the uncontrollable. Epictetus would say her pain came from two sources: the natural sadness of loss, which is unavoidable, and the added suffering created by her attachments and expectations. She believed, deep down, that her love should have been enough to keep her child safe. When reality proved otherwise, she tortured herself with thoughts of failure and what-ifs. Now, you might be thinking, so what's the alternative? Should we just not love anyone? Should we keep everyone at arm's length to avoid future pain? That's not what Epictetus is suggesting. Remember, the Stoics valued human relationships. They believed in justice, kindness, and social duty. Many of them were devoted spouses and parents. The difference is in how they approached these relationships. Instead of possessive attachment, they practiced what you might call loving detachment. They loved fully but held loosely. They cherished their time with loved ones while accepting that this time was borrowed, not owned. They found joy in their relationships while remembering that all human connections are temporary gifts, not permanent possessions. Seneca, another Stoic philosopher, put it beautifully when he wrote about enjoying life's blessings as a traveler enjoys a pleasant inn, grateful for the comfort but ready to continue the journey when the time comes. You can love your spouse deeply while accepting that one day you'll part. You can treasure your children while knowing they're on loan to you, not your property. You can cherish friendships while understanding that people change, drift apart, and eventually say goodbye. This isn't about becoming emotionally numb or pretending you don't care. It's about loving from a place of wisdom rather than desperate need. It's about finding the sweet spot between caring deeply and clinging desperately. It's about being present with the people you love instead of constantly fearing their loss. Because here's the paradox. When you accept the temporary nature of all relationships, you can actually love more freely, more fully, without the constant undercurrent of anxiety that possessive attachment brings. 5. How to stop fighting reality and why you should. You're stuck in Miami traffic on I-95, already 20 minutes late for an important meeting. The car in front of you is going 45 in a 65 zone. Someone just cut across 3 lanes without signaling. Your GPS shows red lines as far as you can see. Your blood pressure rises with each passing second. You're gripping the steering wheel, muttering curses, feeling your whole body tense with frustration. This shouldn't be happening, you think. People shouldn't drive like this. Traffic shouldn't be this bad. This is unacceptable. But here's the question Epictetus would ask. Who are you really fighting here? The traffic? The other drivers? Or reality itself? When we dig into most of our daily frustrations, we find a common pattern. We have an idea of how things should be, and when reality doesn't match that idea, we suffer. Not because of reality itself, but because we're essentially throwing a mental tantrum about reality not conforming to our preferences. Think about how absurd this is when you really examine it. You're sitting in traffic, which is a completely normal occurrence in every major city, especially during rush hour, and you're surprised and angry that it's happening. You're fighting against something as predictable as the sunrise. It's like being shocked that water is wet or that fire is hot. Epictetus taught that this constant battle against reality is one of our primary sources of suffering. We exhaust ourselves fighting battles we can never win against an opponent that doesn't even know we exist. Reality simply is what it is. The universe unfolds according to its own logic, following patterns and laws that existed long before we were born and will continue long after we're gone. The ancient Stoics had a beautiful concept for this, living according to nature. Now, they didn't mean camping in the woods and eating berries. They meant aligning our expectations and desires with the way things actually work in the world, not the way we wish they worked. Let me give you a practical example. You have a favorite coffee mug, a gift from your daughter when she was 7. It has her handprint on it and says, "World's Best Dad." You use it every morning, and it brings you joy. One day, while washing dishes, it slips from your hands and shatters on the kitchen floor. You're heartbroken. That mug was irreplaceable, full of sentimental value. But here's what Epictetus would point out. That mug was always going to break. From the moment it was made, its destruction was inevitable. Whether it happened today, next year, or decades from now, that mug's fate was sealed. It was made of ceramic, a breakable material. You used it daily, increasing the chances of an accident. You knew all of this, yet when it finally broke, you're surprised and upset. The Stoic approach isn't to never care about the mug. It's to appreciate it while you have it, knowing that its nature is to be temporary. When you pick it up each morning, you could think, "I'm grateful to use this mug today," rather than assuming it will be yours forever. Then, when it inevitably breaks, you can feel appropriate sadness at the loss while avoiding the additional suffering that comes from fighting against reality. This principle applies to everything in life. Your body ages, that's its nature. People sometimes disappoint you, that's human nature. Politicians make decisions you disagree with, that's the nature of politics. Your kids grow up and become independent, that's the nature of children. Fighting against these realities is like standing in the ocean and commanding the waves to stop. You'll only exhaust yourself and get knocked down repeatedly. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, had a powerful practice for this. Each morning, he would remind himself of the nature of things he'd encounter that day. He'd think about how people might be rude, selfish, or difficult, not to become cynical, but to avoid being surprised and disturbed when they acted according to their nature. He'd remind himself that his body might feel pain or fatigue, that his plans might be disrupted, that unexpected challenges would arise. By aligning his expectations with reality, he maintained his peace of mind even while running an empire. Now, accepting reality doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on improvement. If you're stuck in traffic, accepting reality means acknowledging that traffic exists while still looking for alternate routes. If someone treats you poorly, accepting reality means recognizing that some people behave badly while still maintaining your own standards and boundaries. If you're facing health challenges, accepting reality means acknowledging your condition while still taking appropriate action to improve it. The key distinction is this: you stop wasting energy on mental resistance to what's already happening and redirect that energy toward useful action. You stop the internal commentary of "this shouldn't be happening" and move to "this is happening. Now what am I going to do about it?" This shift is incredibly powerful. When you stop fighting reality, you suddenly have access to all the energy you were wasting on resistance. You can think more clearly, respond more effectively, and maintain your inner peace even in challenging situations. You become like water, flowing around obstacles rather than battering yourself against them. Consider how this applies to major life challenges. Your company downsizes and you lose your job. Fighting reality looks like, "This is unfair. This shouldn't have happened. They can't do this to me." Accepting reality looks like, "I've lost my job. That's the current situation. Now I need to update my resume, reach out to my network, and explore new opportunities." Same situation, completely different energy. One approach leaves you drained and bitter. The other keeps you focused and effective. One makes you a victim of circumstances. The other makes you a conscious participant in your own life. This is the power of aligning yourself with reality rather than fighting against it. 6. The shocking truth about letting go. A mother in Portland sits beside her adult son's hospital bed. He's been in a coma for 3 weeks after a motorcycle accident. The doctors have gently suggested it might be time to consider letting him go. She grips his hand tighter, tears streaming down her face. "I can't," she whispers. "I can't let go of my baby." Every fiber of her being rebels against the idea. How could anyone ask her to let go of her own child? This is where Epictetus' teachings become almost unbearably difficult to hear, because he's going to tell us something that sounds heartless at first, something that goes against every instinct we have as human beings who love deeply. He's going to tell us that true freedom, true peace, requires letting go of our attachments to everyone and everything we hold dear. Before you recoil in horror, let me be absolutely clear about what Epictetus is and isn't saying. He's not telling you to stop caring about people. He's not advocating for a life devoid of love, compassion, or human connection. What he's revealing is a truth so radical, so counterintuitive, that most of us will spend our entire lives avoiding it. Our desperate grip on the people and things we love is precisely what causes our deepest suffering. Here's the shocking part that nobody wants to admit. That mother clutching her son's hand? Her grip isn't keeping him alive. Her refusal to let go isn't changing his medical condition. All it's doing is prolonging her agony and preventing her from finding any peace with the situation. Her attachment, as understandable and natural as it is, has become a source of torture. Epictetus would say something that sounds brutal. If you kiss your child or your wife, say that you only kiss things which are human, and thus you will not be disturbed if either of them dies. When I first read that quote, I wanted to throw the book across the room. How dare this ancient philosopher tell me to be so cold about the people I love? But then I realized I was missing his point entirely. He's not telling us to be cold. He's telling us to be clear-eyed about the nature of human existence. Every person you love is mortal. Every single one. Your spouse, your children, your parents, your best friends, they all have expiration dates. This isn't morbid or pessimistic. It's simply true, and pretending otherwise doesn't make them immortal. It just makes their eventual loss more devastating. Think about how we typically approach relationships. We fall in love and immediately start building fantasies of forever. We have children and can't imagine life without them. We make friends and assume they'll always be there. We acquire possessions and treat them like permanent fixtures in our lives. Then reality intervenes, as it always does, and we're shattered. A man in Nashville discovers his wife of 15 years has been having an affair. His whole world collapses. But if he's honest, the signs were there. The distance that had grown between them, the conversations they stopped having, the connection that had slowly faded. He clung to the image of what their marriage used to be, refusing to see what it had become. His attachment to an idealized version of his wife blinded him to reality. A woman in San Diego can't let go of her family home, even though maintaining it is draining her finances and her health. Her children have moved across the country. Her husband passed 5 years ago. The house is too big, too expensive, too full of memories. But she can't let go. She's attached not to the house itself, but to what it represents. A time when her family was whole, when life made sense, when she knew who she was. Here's what Epictetus understood that we resist accepting. Everything in this physical world is on loan to us. Everything. Your health, your wealth, your relationships, your very life. None of it is permanently yours. You're a temporary custodian of temporary things. And the sooner you accept this, the sooner you can find peace. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent or nihilistic. It means loving from a place of wisdom rather than desperation. It means enjoying what you have while you have it, without the constant undercurrent of fear about losing it. It means being present with the people you love instead of clinging to them so tightly that you squeeze the joy out of the relationship. The radical freedom Epictetus promises comes when you realize that letting go isn't about loss, it's about liberation. When you let go of your death grip on life, you can finally start living. When you let go of your possessive attachment to people, you can finally love them freely. When you let go of your desperate need for things to be permanent, you can finally appreciate them in the present moment. This isn't passive acceptance of whatever happens. It's not about giving up or not caring. It's about recognizing what you can and cannot control and focusing your energy where it can actually make a difference. You can't control whether your loved ones live or die, but you can control how you treat them while they're here. You can't control whether you lose your possessions, but you can control whether you let those possessions own you. The shocking truth about letting go is that it doesn't diminish love, it purifies it. When you love someone without possessive attachment, you love them for who they are, not for what they do for you. When you appreciate something without clinging to it, you can enjoy it fully without the constant fear of loss. When you accept the temporary nature of everything, you can finally be present in your own life instead of constantly bracing for future pain. This is the freedom Epictetus promises. Not freedom from loss, but freedom from the fear of loss. Not freedom from change, but freedom from being destroyed by change. Not freedom from death, but freedom from being paralyzed by the fear of death. It's a radical reorientation of how we relate to everything and everyone in our lives. 7. The one mindset shift that changes everything. You wake up on a rainy Monday morning in Seattle. Your alarm didn't go off, making you late. The hot water heater is broken, so your shower is ice cold. Your car won't start, forcing you to take an expensive Uber. Your boss emails that the important client meeting has been moved up to 9 a.m., giving you no time to prepare. By 8:30, you're ready to scream at the universe. Why is everything going wrong? This is not how today was supposed to go. Stop right there. This is the moment where Epictetus offers his most powerful teaching, a single mindset shift that can transform your entire experience of life. It's so simple that it sounds almost insulting, yet so profound that truly grasping it can end your war with reality forever. Here it is. Ask not that events should happen as you will, but let your will be that events should happen as they do, and you shall have peace. Read that again. Let it sink in. Epictetus isn't telling you to want bad things to happen. He's not suggesting you should enjoy cold showers or broken cars. He's revealing something far more radical. The secret to inner peace isn't getting what you want. It's wanting what you get. This sounds like wordplay, but it's actually a complete reversal of how most of us approach life. We spend our days with a running wish list. I want sunshine, not rain. I want my technology to work perfectly. I want people to be on time. I want my body to stay young. I want my plans to unfold smoothly. And when reality doesn't deliver our order exactly as specified, we suffer. But what if you flipped the script? What if, instead of demanding that life conform to your preferences, you aligned your preferences with life? What if you wanted it to rain when it rains, wanted your car to break down when it breaks down, wanted your meeting to be rescheduled when it gets rescheduled? I can hear your objection already. That's insane. Why would I want bad things to happen? But that's not what Epictetus is suggesting. He's not saying you should want your car to break down tomorrow. He's saying that when your car does break down, fighting against that reality with thoughts like, this shouldn't be happening, only adds suffering to inconvenience. Let me show you how this works in practice. A woman in Phoenix gets diagnosed with diabetes. She has two choices in how to respond. Option 1. This is terrible. This shouldn't have happened to me. I don't deserve this. My life is ruined. Option 2. I have diabetes. This is my reality now. I'll learn to manage it and live well with it. Both women have the same disease, but their experiences will be completely different. The first woman adds mental and emotional suffering to her physical condition. She'll spend energy fighting against reality, feeling bitter, asking, why me? The second woman accepts her new reality and immediately moves into productive action. She researches nutrition, finds a good doctor, joins a support group. She's not happy about having diabetes, but she's not wasting energy fighting against the fact that she has it. This is what Epictetus means by letting your will be that events should happen as they do. It's not about becoming a doormat or losing your agency. It's about recognizing that reality has already happened, and your choice is whether to accept it and work with it or exhaust yourself fighting against it. Think about how much energy you waste every day wishing things were different. Wishing your commute was shorter, your job was easier, your kids were quieter, your body was younger, your bank account was bigger. All that mental energy spent on resistance, on internally arguing with what is. What if you redirected all that energy toward actually dealing with reality as it presents itself? Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As Roman emperor, he faced constant challenges. Wars, plagues, political intrigue, betrayals. He couldn't control these events, but he could control his response. Each morning, he would remind himself to expect difficulties and to accept them as part of the natural flow of life. Not to seek them out, but to not be surprised or disturbed when they arose. Here's a practical exercise. Tomorrow morning, whatever your first challenge is, try wanting it to happen exactly as it does. Alarm doesn't go off? This is exactly what needed to happen. Traffic is horrible? This is precisely the traffic I'm meant to experience today. Someone is rude to you? This person is playing exactly the role they're meant to play in my day. This isn't about being passive or making excuses for poor behavior. If your alarm doesn't go off, you still take action to fix the problem. If someone is rude, you still maintain your boundaries. But you do it from a place of acceptance rather than resistance. You work with reality rather than against it. The transformation this creates is profound. Suddenly, nothing can disturb your peace because you're not demanding that life be different than it is. You're like a skilled sailor who works with the wind rather than cursing it. When the wind blows east, you adjust your sails and use it. You don't waste time wishing it would blow west. This mindset shift also reveals something beautiful. When you stop demanding that life meet your expectations, you start noticing the perfection in how things actually unfold. That rainy day that ruined your plans? It's watering the earth, creating the perfect atmosphere for reading, giving farmers the moisture they need. That delay that frustrated you? It might have prevented an accident, given you time to notice something important, or created space for an unexpected opportunity. The universe operates according to its own intelligence, its own patterns and rhythms. When you align your will with this greater intelligence, when you want what happens because it happens, you tap into a peace that external circumstances can't touch. You become unshakable, not because life stops challenging you, but because you stop fighting against life's challenges. 8. Your new superpower, unshakable peace. A CEO in Manhattan sits in her corner office as her company's stock price plummets. 20 years of building this business, and it might all disappear by market close. Her phone buzzes nonstop with panicked calls from investors. Her leadership team waits outside, looking for answers she doesn't have. But something remarkable is happening. While everyone around her spirals into chaos, she remains centered, clear-headed, even peaceful. Not because she doesn't care, but because she's discovered what Epictetus promised. A state of inner tranquility that no external storm can disturb. This is what the ancient Stoics called ataraxia, a profound inner peace that comes from living in harmony with reality rather than in constant conflict with it. It's not the temporary calm you might feel during a massage or a vacation. It's a deep, Unshakable serenity that persists whether you're stuck in traffic, facing a health crisis, or watching your carefully laid plans fall apart. Think about what your life would be like with this superpower. You wake up each morning knowing that whatever the day brings, your inner peace is secure. Your teenager slams doors and yells that they hate you. You respond with patience and wisdom rather than matching their emotional intensity. Your flight gets canceled, stranding you in Detroit overnight. You adapt without the usual frustration and anger. Your romantic partner decides to end the relationship. You feel the natural sadness without being destroyed by it. This isn't about becoming an emotionless robot. The Stoics experienced the full range of human emotions. The difference is that they didn't let those emotions control them. They felt anger without being ruled by it. They experienced sadness without drowning in it. They faced fear without being paralyzed by it. The emotions came and went like weather, while their inner core remained stable. How does this actually work in practice? Let's say you're a teacher in Los Angeles, and budget cuts mean your position is being eliminated. The old you would have been devastated, angry, maybe even bitter. You'd lose sleep worrying about money, feeling betrayed by a system you've served faithfully, wondering how you'll pay your mortgage. But with your new Stoic practice, you respond differently. You acknowledge the situation. I'm losing my job. This is challenging. You feel the natural concern about your financial future. But then you ask yourself, what's actually in my control here? Your job status? No, that decision has been made. The economy? Definitely not. What is in your control? Your response, your next steps, your attitude, your effort in finding new opportunities. You update your resume that afternoon. You reach out to your network. You consider whether this might be an opportunity to try something new. Maybe that tutoring business you've always dreamed about. You're taking action, but from a place of calm determination rather than panic. You're working with reality rather than wasting energy lamenting it. This inner peace becomes a superpower in every area of life. In relationships, you love freely without the desperate clinging that pushes people away. You can be present with your loved ones instead of constantly fearing their loss. When conflicts arise, you respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. You become the person others turn to in crisis because you radiate stability. In your career, this tranquility gives you a massive advantage. While others are paralyzed by fear of failure or consumed by ambition for external rewards, you focus on doing excellent work for its own sake. You take calculated risks because you're not devastated by setbacks. You make clearer decisions because your judgment isn't clouded by emotional turbulence. Even in facing life's ultimate challenges, this inner peace transforms your experience. A man in Boston receives a terminal diagnosis. Instead of spending his remaining time in bitter anger or desperate denial, he accepts his situation and focuses on what matters. Time with family, putting affairs in order, perhaps finally writing that book or taking that trip. He faces death with the same equanimity he learned to face life, knowing that both are part of the natural order. Marcus Aurelius, who dealt with plagues, wars, and betrayals as Roman emperor, wrote in his personal journal, "Confine yourself to the present. This is the secret to unshakable peace." When you stop dragging the past into today through regret and stop pulling the future into today through worry, you discover that this moment, right now, is usually manageable. Right now, in this exact moment, you're okay. You're breathing. You're reading these words. Whatever challenges you're facing, in this precise instant, you're surviving them. The inner peace Epictetus teaches isn't about your whole life being perfect. It's about finding the perfection in this moment, even when life is difficult. This doesn't mean you don't plan for the future or learn from the past. It means you do these things from a place of present moment awareness rather than anxiety. You save for retirement without obsessing about it. You remember past mistakes without beating yourself up. You prepare for challenges without living in fear of them. The most beautiful part? This inner peace is contagious. When you remain calm in chaos, others find their own calm. When you respond to aggression with measured wisdom, you often defuse the situation. When you face setbacks with equanimity, you inspire others to do the same. You become a walking demonstration that there's another way to live, one that doesn't require external conditions to be perfect for internal peace to exist. This is your new superpower, the ability to remain centered no matter what life throws at you, not through denial or suppression, but through a deep understanding of what you can and cannot control, through acceptance of life's temporary nature, through alignment with reality rather than resistance to it. You've discovered what Epictetus knew. True freedom isn't about controlling the world around you. It's about mastering the world within you. Your journey starts now. As we conclude this exploration of Stoic philosophy and the profound insights of Epictetus, it's essential to reflect on the journey we've taken together. We've navigated the turbulent waters of human suffering, desire, attachment, and ultimately, the path to unshakable peace. Now, it's time to consider how to apply these teachings to your life moving forward. First and foremost, remember that the world is filled with challenges. Traffic jams, relationship troubles, financial worries, and health issues. These are inevitable parts of the human experience. However, how you respond to these challenges is entirely within your control. The key takeaway from our discussions is the idea that suffering often arises not from the events themselves, but from your judgments and attachments to those events. By recognizing this, you can begin to shift your mindset from one of resistance to one of acceptance. Start by practicing the Stoic art of catching the impression. When you encounter a frustrating situation, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what is my immediate judgment about this? Is it reasonable? How can I shift my perspective to align with reality? This practice allows you to break free from automatic reactions and cultivate a more thoughtful response. It's about developing the ability to see things as they are, rather than how you wish them to be. Next, embrace the concept of letting go. Remember that everything in life is temporary, including the people you love and the possessions you cherish. This doesn't mean you stop caring. Rather, it means you love from a place of wisdom. Focus on enjoying the present moment without clinging to it. Appreciate your loved ones fully, knowing that their presence in your life is a beautiful gift, even if it's fleeting. Cultivate a mindset of wanting what you get. When faced with challenges, instead of wishing for different circumstances, practice acceptance. This doesn't mean you don't strive for improvement in your life, but rather that you accept the current moment as it is. This shift in perspective can free you from unnecessary suffering and allow you to move forward with clarity and purpose. As you embark on this journey toward inner peace, remember that it's a process. You won't transform overnight, and that's okay. Be patient with yourself. Celebrate small victories along the way. Each time you catch an impression, each time you let go of an attachment, you're taking steps toward a more serene existence. Lastly, consider sharing these teachings with others. Stoicism isn't just a personal journey. It's a communal one. By discussing what you've learned, you can inspire friends, family, and colleagues to explore these concepts for themselves. Together, you can create a supportive environment where everyone can grow and thrive. In closing, I leave you with the words of Epictetus. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This profound truth is your guiding star as you navigate life's inevitable ups and downs. Embrace the teachings of Stoicism and let them empower you to cultivate unshakable peace in your life. Your journey starts now. Take a deep breath, step forward with courage, and remember that you have the tools to face whatever comes your way with grace and resilience. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Stoic philosophy. If you found value in this journey, consider subscribing to the Stoic Vivu channel for more insights and practical wisdom.